Hi guys, today we're speaking about cooperation of American companies and foreign freelancers or independent contractors. Our guest is Kirill Chereshka. He will tell us about it. Hi Kirill.
Hi Denis, good to see you. It's an interesting topic, so what is your first question?
How do freelancers and customers cooperate in America? What is special about it?
In America, freelancers are usually and legally falling into the independent contractors category. Basically, these are any service providers who are not classified as full-time employees. This is important for freelancers not to be under migration or labor law. For instance, in the state of California, the full-scale employee status is defined through the ABC test. What is an ABC test? A worker is considered an employee and not an independent contractor unless the hiring entity meets all three conditions of the ABC test. A. The person is independent of the hiring company, both under the contract and in fact. B. The person performs work outside the hiring entity business or premises. And C. The person is routinely doing work independently for the same skill, for the same trade, and for this company sometimes. By legal presumption in the states, workers are considered employees unless proven otherwise. So the hiring company should show that people meet all conditions of the ABC test in order to classify them as independent contractors. Basically, the same legislation is going to be adopted soon by other democratic American states. Let's speak a little bit separately. What is a work for hire and copyright? So what is the composition of it? According to the United States Copyright Act as of 1976, the work is created by an independent contractor or freelancer, and it may be considered a work for hire only if a few conditions are met. For instance, if you work for a film company or you're an interpreter or a translator, this is the first point. Second point, this work must be specially ordered by the company. And third, there should be a written agreement specifying that this is a work for hire. In other words, just mutual agreements that this is a work for hire is not enough. It should be written on paper officially. Next point, what is important and how freelancer can find customer and vice versa. The most popular way in the United States to find independent contractors is a word of mouth, 40%, because networking is very developed in America. But even if you are a good person, as we say in Russia, this is not a job, and you have to prove your skill somehow by reference, by feedback, or by any degree or document. The second popular way to find freelancers is social networks, 25%. LinkedIn is number one, then comes Facebook, Instagram, and even TikTok. Then comes classified ads, any advertisement on the media, or printed media or digital media about yourself as an expert. And here falls Google Maps as well, because you can find a professional on Google Maps. Then comes the recruiting agencies, but recruiting agencies is for major firms because they are expensive. And the last place is taken by marketplaces. I mean freelance exchanges where people meet, and this is only 13%. This is the least part and the least place where you can find freelancers. Most American companies are using local independent contractors, 60%, because they speak the same language, but in a few cases they use outsourcing. For instance, phone centers or call centers usually use Filipino people because English is spoken as the first language in the Philippines. And as far as hospitality and chefs industry, these are mainly Europeans. So there are also ratings or In Russia, we have chambers of commerce and industry. In America, they are called business bureaus. For instance, there is a Better Business Bureau in California, bbb.org, where you can find information about bad guys or good companies or independent contractors. The decisions of such panels are not mandatory, but basically people listen to them because they are high-profile professional institutions. Actually, cooperation between freelancers and customers in the United States of America depend on tax and payment issues, the rest being the same as in any other country. Sometimes you may not have a contract. Google Sheets or an Excel spreadsheet is quite enough. They also use the services for document flow like Trello or Basecamp. The contracts between freelancers and customers may be in written or digital format, so it doesn't matter now. It's better to specify in the contract the subject of the contract, the payment size, as well as the payment procedure, deadlines, and responsibility, because that would be easier than to mitigate any risk. Anyway, the document flow management in America should be in line with the American legislation, as well as with the legislation of the country where freelancer comes from. So this is basically the answer on the first question.
Okay, thank you very much. And how documents are signed? Timeline, what is required?
Document flow depends on the state, on the location of the customer. If the price of the contract is not big, usually a formal contract is not made because it's too lengthy and it's time consuming. Americans basically need a contract to withdraw money to reduce their taxation base, as well as for minimization of any risks on the contractor side, or for clearing foreign exchange matters. If you have a contract, you'd better say the contract is governed by the law of a certain state and where the court of law is located in case, and you'd better remove any traps like high penalties or anything like that, because this is not good. And you have to specify that a contractor is a freelancer or independent. So basically, you may have a contract in a written form or in a digital format. Both are okay, and digital contracts, even in Russia now, can be signed by a digital signature. Or you can use a system like DocuSign, which is popular at the moment. And even if freelancer is sending over an invoice to the customer and customer pays that invoice, it means that the contract has been made. And also you can use a Google Sheet. Even in Russia, as I said, the existing legislation allows digital signatures and exchange of scanned documents. The only thing is that in the contract should say that we can exchange digital scanned copies, and there should be an email address or any other channel for information exchange. So this is the second question.
Okay, what is the payment procedure between independent contractors and customers in the USA? Down payment, bank account, PayPal, or something like that?
I got it. It depends, because advance payment or down payment is pretty popular. But if you perform the job for this customer for the first time, he will unlikely pay you in advance. If you work in the longer term, of course, this is a normal payment procedure. Usually, American contractors are paying through PayPal to foreign contractors. But you need to be careful about this, because PayPal has two functionalities. You may have payments for family and friends without any fee, and you may have commercial payments. And you'd better use commercial functionality if you work for an American customer and if you are an American customer, because in this case you will easier prove, in case of any problem, that the work has been done, what for, and this is a better proof, I would say, unlike family and friends. Yes, you need to pay a fee for that, but it's not a big deal. And please notice and specify in the payment reason. You need to write what is that payment for. In America, in case of if you get or pay to someone more than $600, you need to report this information to the Internal Revenue Office, tax office in Russia. And in Russia is the same. Since October the 1st, 2021, tax residents of Russia have to report any foreign payment wallets to the tax office of Russia. And residents are not only those guys who have Russian passport. Residents are those who live in Russia for 183 days during 12 months in a row. So if you are a foreign national and if you live in Russia within those days, you are considered a Russian resident. So you have to know this. And another point to notice is that if you open a foreign payment wallet, you need to report that. And if your transaction amount across the year is 600,000 rubles, you also need to report that to the Russian tax authorities. What else? You cannot do, or you must not conduct entrepreneurial activities through Payoneer or Wise payment wallets in Russia. They are off limits. And as for PayPal, PayPal has a legal entity in Russia, PayPal.ru limited liability company, and this is considered a Russian company, so you don't have to report your PayPal account to the tax office in Russia. But to withdraw money, there is a different point, because if your transaction amount is 200,000 rubles and less, you don't have to supply any original documents to the bank. If the amount of your payment of your transaction is from 200,000 rubles up until 6 million rubles, you need to supply certain accompanying documents like contract, copy of the contract, all right, any other receipts or invoices. But if your contract is more than 6 million rubles, you need to bring to the bank an official or a physical copy of the contract to register it with the bank. This is a must by law, so you need to know this.
Okay, thank you. And one more very important point: what it takes to begin cooperation with an American company for non-US residents.
To work with an American company, you don't need to make a US account or to set up a company in the States, because in this case it may work not good for you, because American customers may think that you are an American citizen or a resident, but this is not the case. Instead, you'd better incorporate yourself in your country, for instance, in Russia. By the way, American banks report to the Internal Revenue Office of the United States on any transactions over $10,000. So, if you want to work with an American company as a freelancer, you'd better register in Russia as a sole proprietor or IP or self-employed. The difference is that a sole proprietor should pay tax from 6 to 15% sometimes, or less if you have a patent. But if you are a self-employed person, you need to pay from 4 to 6% of tax, but you have certain restrictions. You can also do some entrepreneurial activities as a private individual, but in this case you have to pay 13% of tax, and it's not for all types of entrepreneurial activities, so be careful about that. And the last point I want to mention: when you withdraw your money from your foreign account at a bank, you have to be careful, because if you get money from PayPal, you have to pay tax as well. Otherwise, the bank may consider you as a money laundering agent or as a person that finances terrorism under law number 115 for counter money laundering and counter terrorism financing in Russia. And in this case, if you may be in trouble, because if you are classified like that, you will never be able to open any bank account in Russia forever. So basically, these are the answers on your questions, Dennis.
Kirill, thank you very much for your detailed description of all main points on this article. Thank you for your time again, and see you next time.
Yes, Dennis, it's been a pleasure. So I can help you at any time you want. All the best to you, and bye-bye.